And we continue to go with the post-match analysis of Chelsea's 4-0 victory over Southampton. But today, we're not going just to focus on the Chelsea game. We're going to try and focus on one key player who created the difference and has been the difference maker in Chelsea's last two games. Despite the defeat at Aston Villa, we saw the use of Pedro Neto in a very unorthodox position, and that is the false nine. Now, Neto, in his last game, scored and gave an assist, something that he has done for the first time in the Premier League. Are we seeing Neto actually transforming to a different player? Because the way he played actually influenced the way Chelsea were able to be dominant in that game. And so how did he do it? Now, what we automatically notice is the pace of Pedro Neto, the pace and the work rate of Pedro Neto that helped Chelsea both offensively and defensively. But offensively, it was very great to see a player who's able to make those runs. And after seeing the first clip, you could see how Pedro Neto was so silky, was so fluid, and how he has managed to transform that Chelsea attack. And before we even start, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. The Southampton game gave a lifeline to Chelsea when it came, especially to giving Chelsea that confidence boost, that ability to actually improve their performance and strike a great balance between defense and attack. And we actually saw this especially with the role that Pedro Neto played. And Neto influenced Chelsea from the start, from the build-up position. And during the build-up, I want to give you the stark contrast between having Neto and Christopher Nkunku in that build-up strategy. So Southampton tried to press Chelsea aggressively high. Now let's use the hypothetical that Nkunku was the one playing as a number 9. What we know with Nkunku is that he likes to drop deep a lot because he's a number 10. And most likely he will not hold on to that position, and he's also not quite strong enough to hold off Premier League defenders. This will draw the defenders to come deeper and try to close them down, pulling their high line aggressively high and looking to nullify Chelsea's progression in the center. And this will also make the forward line to be more aggressive, as they will now go man to man with the center backs and look to try and aggressively press them. Now let's do the reverse of what actually happened with Pedro Neto playing at that number 9 position. Now Neto in this position was quite dynamic, as he looked to make those off the shoulder defender kind of runs. And because of Neto's ability and his persistence in doing that, this also made Chelsea revert into a more of a box midfield, with Enzo Fernandez moving from midfield and joining that half space position and looking to create that overload together with Cole Palmer. This coupled by Cucurella inverting in midfield and Jorgensen moving into that right centre back role, so that Chelsea can create that pseudo back four against Southampton's front three. This made Chelsea to be very dangerous, and because of Neto's space and threat in behind, this made Southampton drop their lines, and this created numerical advantages for Chelsea during build-up. With using Jorgensen, this ensured that Chelsea always had a +1 during build-up. And when you look at these patterns of play, you can see the number of spaces and the pockets that are opening up to Jorgensen. And this is because the wide centre backs of Southampton cannot push forward because of the pace and the threat that Neto carries in behind. Players such as Fernandez were even happier with this kind of scenario, because now they would be able to pick up positions where they could receive the ball directly from the centre backs. And because of the positioning of these players, and because of the high line that was dropped deeper, Jorgensen always had time on the ball and zero pressure. And whenever pressure was about to be applied on him, he will always have numerous options. Now, because of this strategy, this allowed Chelsea to stretch the pitch vertically, enabling their box midfield to always have space and have the opportunity to circulate the ball around. Though in the initial 15 minutes, Chelsea were looking to be low on confidence, especially when it came to playing from the back, because they have suffered a lot and conceded a lot of goals through that. But because of the space that Chelsea actually managed to create vertically and horizontally, Chelsea had players who were able to pick the ball in between the lines and immediately look to transition, allowing Chelsea to have that threat with the ball. Now, because of this threat, it became counterproductive for Southampton to try and press Chelsea aggressively high, because time and time again we found Chelsea finding themselves in positions where they were having 2v2s and 3v3s. And coupled with having key players like Palma and Fernandes in between the lines, Chelsea actually had opportunities to score more goals from this scenario. Now, when Chelsea had the ball in settled possession, Chelsea moved into that 3-5 with Cucurella joining Caicedo. As I said, that is the best pivot, allowing Fernandes and Palma to operate in wide positions in the half space positions that Chelsea like to occupy. Now, the strategy for Maresca in this situation was not to have the backline push so aggressively deeper to stifle Southampton, but rather to have the backline starting slightly deeper so that they can look to create spaces in between the lines for players like Fernandes. And that is what actually happened. You can see the green demarcation indicating the space between Newcastle's backline and defensive line, and the defensive line is playing deeper because of the pace and threat that Pedro Neto carries. And now you can see players like Fernandes and Palma are having that space. And how did this happen? Because of Neto's lightning quick pace, this and his constant runs in behind, this made Southampton's backline to play slightly deeper. And Newcastle also wanted to press Chelsea and stop them from building from these positions, looking to have their 3 players going on to the 3 center backs and their 2 players going on to the 2 pivots. But the problem now is the positions that Fernandes and Palma were picking, because they were moving into the wide areas to pick and receive the ball. And because Southampton were looking to create this overload down the center, Chelsea decided to spread their center backs so wide with the intention of trying to have them in positions where they're able to play those balls to the wingers and as well as the players in the inside channels. And because Palma was such a threat, the opposition constantly had a centre back tracking Palma, and this allowed Fernandes now to be the free man in this team, looking to receive the ball directly from the centre backs and look to progress. Now, Cucurella sometimes will also push into that half space position, receive the ball, and you will find Nkunku and Neto looking to make runs in behind, especially against that back 3. And this created problems for Southampton. Pedro Neto also proved to be quite strong dominantly, especially winning ground duels. And because of his space and his strength, he was also looking to try and give Chelsea that kind of a target man strength in that number 9 position. That's why Chelsea created more and more chances in this game. Because of the position that Enzo Fernandez was picking, especially when one of the centre backs would step deep to try and cover Cole Palmer, Enzo Fernandez always found himself in a position where he would be able to play balls, especially for the runs of Palmer or Pedro Neto or Sancho. And because of Chelsea's centre backs who are very excellent in the ball, Colwill and Tosin Adarabioyo were able to find these players in between the lines. You can see here Enzo Fernandez is receiving the ball in between the lines, and the Southampton centre back is slow to cover. Look at the space that has opened up in Southampton's backline. This space has opened up. Palma spots this space, and Palma is looking to make that run and occupy that space and look to exploit that gap. And look and see the position that Neto is occupying. He's covering and drawing the other centre back not to occupy that space. Enzo Fernandez is able to spot that space. Enzo Fernandez decides to carry that ball, and you can see Nkunku here is looking to ask Enzo to play that ball in behind. And if Nkunku made that run, it would have been better. But Palma is able to reach that position to make that run. Enzo is able to play that ball onto the path of Cole Palmer, but Palma is unable to just hit this ball first time and actually put Chelsea in a good position, or even look to pass the ball to Neto, who can look to actually create problems. But not only was Neto so important for Chelsea when Chelsea were looking to build up and try to create attacks, but Neto was also very important for Chelsea when it came to trying to defend. And when I talk about defending, is pressing. So when you compare the overall output that Neto generated in that central position to that Nkunku normally generates, you realize that Neto was pressing more and he was more aggressive in his press. And Nkunku was now helped by the touchline by being played in the wide area, so that Chelsea can look to utilize his lack of pressing and try to have Neto being the one to lead the press. And this showcased Maresca's ability to change tactically and has actually opened up a new role for Pedro Neto. And do you think that Neto is actually able to transform Chelsea with this new role upon the resumption of McGeough in March? Leave your comments in the comment section area below. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.